Welcome back. It's Dr. Jen Ferboni, better known as DocJenFit, your doctor of physical therapy. And I want to go over something that is so common, which is patellofemoral syndrome. Now, we do have a whole podcast episode on patellofemoral syndrome. So if you want to dive deeper into the understanding of what it is, what studies are really showing, and we give a few more pinpointed exercises that you can really start leaning into, I would highly recommend going and checking out that video. This one is going to really be about what can we do to start addressing this front of the knee pain and why does it happen? Now, first and foremost, I like to say that the knee is kind of the victim to what is happening above and below. So if we're really restricted in our ankles, really restricted in our hips, we're going to end up needing to put a lot more load through the knee. So it's really important we open up the joints around the knee so there's not as much tension and pressure that always has to rely and fall back on the knee to take on everything. So if you want to test how your ankle and your hips are and figure out what you need to do to start improving that range of motion, we do have a video all about testing your hip, ankle, and foot mobility, but also I think we go into like your shoulder, your upper back. So it's just like a general test for your mobility. We have a free video where you can go check that out. Now, the most important thing here is that we probably have tightness around the knee. So doing some quad stretches, doing some hamstring stretches, some adductor stretches. They're not bad. They're great to do. However, we need to start loading the knee again and do it in a way that's going to progress over time and add a little bit more stimulus to that knee so it can eventually take on more load. That's what's most important here. That's why we get that increased sensitivity because your knee is not used to taking on that much load. And the reason I think this has happened is because we've been so ingrained to always believe that our knee can never pass our toe. And so every time we squat, we stick our bottom out, or we do a class and we stick our bottom out, and we're not used to having that increased load. But every time we go downstairs, you walk down a hill, you squat and you pick something up off the floor that's really low and you got to get low, your knee is going to go over your toe. So if we don't have the tolerance for that load, that's where we start to build pain. So let's build that tolerance. And the ways that I like to do that is addressing the foot strength with the hip strength. And that's going to relate to how we're stabilizing around the knee. So first, I like to say we want to get comfortable getting familiar with the front of the foot. For so long, again, we've been told you only push through your heels. Make sure you're squatting into your heels. Can you lift your toes? All the weight is into your heels. But again, that's getting us too far back and we're not balancing out what needs to happen in the front or stabilizing through the foot. So you're going to come into like what you can call it a B stance, a tripod stance, something that is, this back foot is kind of more for support. And we're going to use all my weight and kind of shift it forward into this front foot. So if you can kick off your shoes, it's a lot better to kind of feel the foot here. Okay. So I'm going to open my toes and lift my heel, spread over into the ball of my big toe, pressing down into my big toe and then across all my toes. So I kind of want to feel everything from the ball of my foot across my toes, pressing down into the floor. So already I'm starting to activate my leg here just from starting to lean forward. I still have this back foot here that's just helping with balance. Okay. And then what I want to do is take this front hip and I want to shift it back. So I'm going to start to sit back into this hip. Think about reaching that, like almost that bone that's in your bottom. You want to think of it reaching straight back, straight back. So nothing is happening from the back. We're purely bending from here, but I'm still shifted forward into the ball of the foot. And then I'm going to slowly come up. And what you should feel is everything starting to work. I'm loading into my quad because I'm leaning forward into my foot, but I'm also getting that whole back fascial line to now work from the bottom of my foot up and back into my hamstring and into my glute. So I'm going and I'm leaning forward thinking of that hip coming back, I might rotate a little bit in my chest. So I'm rotating towards you just a tiny bit. And then I slowly push, and you might feel a little shaky. Things are starting to work in a different manner. Your calf is starting to burn because we're pressing into that toe, and we're starting to wake things up that maybe haven't been woken up in a while. So this is a good place to, maybe you're starting, it's part of your warm up. You're activating new muscles. Okay. Or maybe you're just adding it in as a workout, because after you do a couple, you start to feel muscles that you haven't felt before in a new way. So it's a great one to start to add into your workout regimen. Now, we also want to be reversing that squat pattern that we might have learned from sticking the booty out to now allowing the bottom to go straight down as you squat. That is the goal. And if our bottom's going to go straight down, our knees then have to go forward. And a great way to start to learn that or relearn that is to elevate the heels. So you want to think that your back is straight against a wall. Okay. And to kind of counterbalance that weight even more, sometimes holding a weight in front of you is a great tool. So it doesn't have to be too heavy. I'm holding a 15-pound weight here. And if it's just out in front of my body, I'm able to keep more of an upright spine. So now as I bend, I want to think my tailbone is literally going to go straight down, not out. Okay. I'm not sticking my bottom out to start the squat. I'm going to think tailbone straight down, which means my knees have to go forward. I want you to go slow. The moment you feel like, oh, that's too much pressure on my knee, you're going to come right back up. And that's where you're starting from. Okay. So that's why we don't want too heavy of a weight. This is just useful to kind of help to keep that back upright. So you hold it out in front of you just a little bit, and my knees are going to follow about my second toe. So I don't want them to come in. They're going to come straight out as my bottom is coming straight down. And the goal here is to go as low as possible, getting as much bend into those knees, and then nice and slow as you come up. If you hear cracks and pops like my knees just did, totes normal. It is nothing to worry about. We're going to have different, kind of cracks just from pressure changes within the joint, and that's okay. So that is one to start to definitely train and add into your workout regimen, especially if you notice as you're starting to go forward in that slow manner, you're putting a lot of load onto that knee and it's starting to hurt. Just go right before you feel pain and then come back up, and you'll start to progress the more that you work and improve it. Last one that we're going to do is a heel elevated lunge. So now we're kind of combining the two, squat and hinge pattern here. Now, because when I put my ball of my foot up, my toes have to drop because of just the way that my weight is structured here, I like to put a towel where my toe will go, because then it's kind of more of an even surface here. So I'm going to put a towel right where my toes go. And now I'm thinking of a very similar thing where I want my back foot is still here to help me balance. I still want to go into this hip a lot for the squat, but I'm going to allow my knee to also go forward. So I'm putting pressure into my forefoot, into the ball of the foot, and into my toes. Okay. As I come down, I'm pushing my weight into it. I'm letting my knee come forward as much as I can tolerate, and I'm letting this hip come back to open up my glute area as I then push and lift. So what you'll notice is I want to get more hip range of motion here too. So as I pull this hip back, my chest is naturally going to start to rotate. This is going to help to open up hip internal rotation, but I'm also going to push into my knee. So I'm working my glute, I'm working my quad, I'm working some tension onto my knee, and then I push forward. If you cannot tolerate your knee going forward a whole lot, that's where you're going to start a little bit further back. Okay. Your knee is a little bit more on top of your ankle. As you start to feel comfortable and progress, you're going to let that knee start to shift forward and start to shift forward even more. How much can I start to load my knee into a deeper bend and straighten it all the way out? This is going to be the key to build healthy knees, especially as we age. We need our knees to be strong and resilient. We don't want to back away from loading into them. We want to teach our body how to load into them more safely. Now, of course, if you want a plan to follow that gives you a better idea of the mobility that you could be doing, the core control, the strengthening around your whole hip and ankle and foot. That's where we have a whole knee plan on Gen Health. That's going to walk you through a daily plan of what to do 8 to 15 minutes a day. It's not going to take too much time, so you can still maintain your workout regimen, add a couple of these in, and follow the plan to allow your entire body from your hips all the way to your foot start to open up and decrease that pressure on your knee. Don't forget, if you love what you're learning, I have so much more in stock for you. So hit that subscribe button, check out the other videos I've done in the past, and leave any comments of any suggestions that you have for videos in the future. And I can't wait to help you feel incredible and amazing within your body.